Friends, today is May 31st, 2023. Just wanted to come at you with some thoughts. What's one of the many things in the news? The thing I'm going to be talking about now is the Target boycott. And we want you to understand, I want you to understand, God wants you to understand the psychological operations, the bigger picture that's going on with this. So we've got what's on the surface, that Target has hired an actual, literal Satanist to design a whole line of clothing, and there's all these blasphemous things that are put out. And we also see now that there's the same thing going on in Kohl's. So these are huge, huge stores. They're owned by BlackRock and Vanguard and other things, but BlackRock and Vanguard are the main two evil corporations that own most of the big companies in the world, or have the controlling a majority share, let's just say it that way. They are heavily they're dominant in this space. And these companies serve Satan, and the elites are invested in them, and you get in and you get to become a financial insider, and you get dividends, and you get rich on insider info, all kinds of opportunities that the average person, even if you're a multimillionaire, you can't get in and invest on what they're investing in and the ways they're investing in on it. Yes, you can go out, and I could go out and buy some, interest in BlackRock and Vanguard. Now, that'd be an evil thing for you to do, so don't do that. But it's nowhere on the scale of what they can do. Now, what I need to share with you is something that I had to learn, which was confusing for me at first, right? Because it's counter to the way that humans think. I'll share this with you in just a sec. It's how the Illuminati think. And I had to learn this from Fritz Springmeier, and I think it was some interview that he did that I listened to. This is years and years ago. But he said, the Illuminati will tear down their own assets. It doesn't matter. Like, for example, there's the... I'm fuzzy on the details now. So the Rothschild estate that they just gave away to the country that it was built in. So I didn't come prepared to share accurate details on this piece of information, but that some massive estate and gardens and some, house with some, ridiculous 50 bedrooms. Again, I don't remember the details. My actual numbers are not going to be the right numbers, but it's some gargantuan palatial thing, and worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and just hard to even put a value on. It's so huge and unique. They just gave it away. Well, A, it could have cost them a lot in property taxes. B, it was too well known by the public, and things like that. So there might have been reasons like that, or they probably gave it away in some kind of deal that they made with the government. Who knows? I don't know the insider aspects of that. But it's all just a game to them, is my point. It's they play with it. It's not real. What I want to tell you is that the dollar, the American dollar is now being destroyed. A lot of BRICS nations are more is being added to their number every month. More nations are joining the BRICS nations. And they're going to be doing their business, their commerce, and their trading, and their oil buying in currencies other than the dollar. So, the fake leaders, Clinton, Obama, Biden, and even Trump, right? They've used America, and people before them too, okay? So, yes, you got Carter and Ford and all these other people, okay? And people before them and people before them. They've used America as the military arm. If America excels at something, there's control systems in place over all these things. So America's excelled in their military ever since World War II. And so we've just become the policemen of the world. And so we've had all this force and all this money and all this manufacturing and all this big, huge military industrial complex budget. So we've got this pretty beefy military, and we can just project power around the world and make countries do what we want to do. Then we've got the CIA to install leaders or assassinate leaders, world leaders, as they see fit, who will play ball with Mostly, I think it boils down to whether they'll join the central banks and borrow insane amounts of money from the central banks to run their operations and keep their government afloat, and then they become beholden and indebted to the central banks, and then they basically become slaves. But so you've got America being used as a big bully with a big military to force all these other nations into a compliance. Now, we the people on the street, we the average voter, we didn't even know anything. We didn't know how this evil system works. We didn't understand how central banks work and all their nasty schemes to create prisoners, to create debt slaves. At the individual level, at the corporate level, at the government level, at the international level, at all levels. But money is a joke to them. Money is just something to be used. Money is just a means to an end. Money is no more something real to them. Again, there's different levels of playing the game. You can be, an industrialist worth 500 million or 500 billion, or even you've broken through and you've become a trillionaire. Well, okay, that's great. But that's not still necessarily the same thing as Illuminati level power, Council of 13 level power. That's just one group. That's one group right towards the top of the evil pyramid of satanic power structures on Earth. But there's hundreds of groups. Money is no more real to them than casino chips. Now, when you go into the casino is a great example. It's a great picture that people can understand for what Babylon is, right? A casino is a rigged system. And again, to play at the casino, you have to exchange your quote-unquote real money. Let's just assume dollars are real money, which they aren't, but for the purposes of analysis, so an analogy, so by extension we can all understand, you exchange that for chips, and then to play at the casino, you have to play in their kind of money, which we know is fake money. A poker chip is not real money, but you think your dollar is real money. I know, we've been conditioned and programmed, and we weren't on to all their schemes. So, a poker chip is not real money, but to play, you have to convert to poker chips and play with poker chips. And then the whole system is rigged to take that away from you, so you lose more than you put in. And there'll be minor exceptions here and there where there's some winner and somebody won X amount of money, and they'll hype up those moments, which they can mostly program into their machines when those moments occur. And if you catch on to the casino, or if you're smarter than the casino, they kick you out of the casino system. Well, likewise, if you're truly providing value, they either take you over or they get rid of you. Now, this happens literally and obviously under the oppressive Chinese CCP, Communist Chinese Party regime, where if you're just if your company is successful enough, the government just comes in and takes you over. And they may say, okay, well, we'll let you remain the figurehead of the company, and you can act like it's still your company, but you give us, whatever it is, 80% of your earnings, or we just kill you and your family. And so the big bullies of the CCP just come in to anything sufficiently exceptional, anything successful enough, because, hey, they've got the power, and they want your money, and they're going to do what they're going to do. So they just come in and take over, okay? So likewise, if you're exceptional enough in any way, the enemy hates it. Satan hates your exceptionalism. He hates the talents, the gifts, the success that God's gifted you with, and he wants to steal it for himself. The enemy is all about stealing, killing, and destroying. So, in a casino, you play with fake money, aka poker chips, and it's designed to even take that away from you. So, on the whole, you'll lose more than you win. And but they'll keep you enticed give you free drinks, and so on and so forth. They give you all these lures and enticements to keep playing inside of a system that's completely rigged to take from you, so that you're entertained, so that you feel good while you're being scammed. Okay? Now, that's the same thing that banks and everything Babylonian is that. The healthcare, the insurance, the everything is that way inside Babylon. Babylon doesn't produce real value because the kingdom of darkness that runs it is a bankrupt kingdom. Just like no matter how much money we have in our government budget, we always have to increase the debt ceiling because there's nothing legal going on. There's nothing lawful going on. There's nothing authorized going on. It's all a scam take situation. It's like, have you ever seen like a mother sow, right? A female pig mother, and she's got, like 8 piglets nursing at teats, right? And so, except that you've got 8 piglets nursing at teats, and then you've got 10 million mosquitoes sucking the sow dry, draining the blood, and then you've got a few wolves nursing at the teats, a few orangutans nursing at the teats. You got everything, right? So the USA, which is built on, a lot of it's built on the hardworking backs of middle-class America and small business, we give Israel $10 million. Now, Israel's a godless state. Israel's a state that literally, overtly refuses to acknowledge God. They're not a neutral state. They're not a God state. They're not a God-fearing state. They're a God-rejecting state. They're an openly antagonistic state. Now, of course, there's geopolitical reasons why we do this. For our interests there, and oil interests, and a control, and to have a control hub, and have some quote-unquote allies. But you know what? If we ever really needed Israel to have our backs, they wouldn't do it. They're opportunistic and selfish, and they're milking the USA. And some people have said that the Mossad has suitcase nukes and hidden covert nukes under major cities, and they just hold us by extortion, that say, you keep giving us this money or we'll just, oops, accidentally, somehow one of your cities went up in smoke. I wonder how that happened. Now, I can't prove that. I don't know that for a fact. I do think that is likely, because that is very much something that they would do. I don't have any insider information that can prove that to you or convince you of that. But, so we get Israel $10 million a day. They're extorting the USA out the wazoo. We have so many people in our government, meaning Congress and Senate, and lots of other places too, of course. But Congress and Senate, let's just talk about that, who have dual citizenship with Israel. What is the other place? Why do all these people have dual citizenship? Why should we let somebody with dual loyalties to other nations? Wait a second, you're supposed to be representing the people of the USA. Of course, what they're supposed to be doing has nothing to do with what they're actually doing. So the other slice of the pie is we have, I think it's over 40 of our Congress and Senate that is dual citizenship with China. So again, we have people that are openly have loyalties to countries that are extorting us and countries that are seeking to take us over and destroy us. The second one being China is seeking to take us over and destroy us. And it's waging biological warfare against us. It's waging economical warfare against us. And it's waging many forms of warfare against us. And eventually it'll become overt and physical too. So money is not real to the Illuminati. Now, maybe when you look at the forest and the trees at the level of this planet, gold still has value. Gold is a form of value, and so they do value gold and silver and other precious resources. Water resource, farmland resource, They recognize that there's value in owning these types of things, but money itself is just something that's highly manipulated. A lot of it's manipulated by the Federal Reserve, which is not even a federal government institution. It does not have any government oversight. It does what it decides to do because it answers to a bunch of globalists that aren't even inside the USA to begin with. Some of them are in Switzerland and Davos, Switzerland, and other places. But the Federal Reserve is not owned by Americans, not controlled by the federal government, doesn't answer to the federal government, and yet they're deciding all the decisions for us. So you go into a casino, and the casino owners, are just deciding the rules of the casino. And if you're subjected yourself to playing at the casino, you're subject to their rules. So don't make yourself subject to. Now, we have to be, to some degree, simply living in America, subject to many of the things that we didn't vote for that are forced upon us. And while they emphasize all our freedom and choice, it's really mostly tyranny. And they've just trained us to love our tyranny. So, money is not real to the controllers of this world and this world system. No, meaning dollars aren't real. All the currencies of the world and the various nations aren't real. And yes, some of these currencies are backed by gold entirely, or a portion of them, and all of that. But that's still not gold itself. You're not handing people gold coins and receiving back gold coins in change. You're dealing with a derivative. And of course, gold coins might be awkward and too heavy and, too expensive these days, as a ounce of gold currently is approximately $2,000. But this is all made up. It's all made up how much an ounce of gold is in dollars. It's all made up. It's all just a conversation. It's all just agreement that people are agreeing to said value of said object relative to said dollar, which is fake to begin with. So it's all a system of fraud. And as long as you keep playing by the system, you can think, right? So if you have to use your chips in the casino, but by using chips in a casino, you can do certain things, meaning play certain games, that you can't do without using chips. So you could probably hand the waitress a casino token, and she will treat it like money because she knows she can go to the window and exchange that for dollars. And again, dollars themselves aren't real money. Neither is any currency of the world real money. Neither is cryptocurrency real wealth. Money, wealth. Technically, those are different things. I sometimes am using the word interchangeably. I realize that's technically wrong. There's a difference between money and wealth. There's a difference between money and currency. But I'm not trying to get into the technicalities of that. I'm just using it as a word that we use in day-to-day conversation for value. So, having said all of that stuff, when it comes to Target and whether Target's losing a bunch of money or making a bunch of money, or when they let Portland have this autonomous zone and all the money and all the problems that caused, when they shut down our own economy for 2 years under lockdowns, ridiculous amounts of money was lost. They don't care. They don't give a damn. Now, to the average Joe, to my mind, to your mind, they would never do that. They would never do something to hurt themselves. Why would they let this thing? They want to make money. They don't want to. They're at the level in which money is meaningless, the same way that poker chips are only real inside the artificially constructed world of the casino. Your Monopoly money, that's not real, but while you're playing the game of Monopoly, literally playing the literal game of Monopoly, you're using that Monopoly money, which isn't real. It's a symbol for money. It's a representation of money, just to have something to play with in the game. To them, this is all a game. In other words, building nations up or destroying nations is all a game. There's a level that they're playing on that's a higher, bigger level than what almost anyone, not everyone, but almost anyone thinks about. And so they don't see what's happening. And I had to learn this by what Fritz Springmeier explained in this interview of how the Illuminati will tear down their own assets. Now, we know that banks and Illuminati people, such as the Rothschilds, make a lot of money on the scam of creating a war and then financing both sides of the war, because war is very expensive, so they need a bunch of money. And boom, you've got two different people beholden to you, and then they owe you all this money that they can't pay back, and they get in over their heads, and then you seize assets, and now you've got assets, right? And that was the goal to begin with. So there's that whole scam. They will tear down something. They will tear down a country, I'm sorry, is what I meant to say. And yes, they will tear down a company. They will let Target lose ridiculous amounts of money. Kohl's is probably next. That's not really what they care about. To us, wait a second, you're being a very irresponsible business person by these standards. Are you stupid? Look at how stupid these CEOs are. They've made these woke decisions, and they don't realize that if you go woke, the American people don't like this and buy into it, and you'll lose tons of money. What a stupid financial person you are. No, you're not understanding. You're not seeing the game for what it is. They don't care about this. Now, there's a level at which companies are given money by the government. Again, this is as our country becomes much more socialistic. The government has got its fingers way deep. There are some analogies I could use that are not pretty analogies. So let's say the government's got its fingers way deep up into companies and corporations and industry and manufacturing and all of this stuff. And under the ideals of socialism, well, the government's doing it for the good of the nation, which is bullshit. They're doing it for the good of themselves, for the fat cats at the top. The way it always is, the way it always ends up being in communism and communist countries, the way it is in China, the way it is in Cuba, the way it is here. So the controllers are going to control, and then they're going to put forth whatever narrative they need to put forth to keep the little peasants, the little serfs, the little citizens behaving and not getting too out of hand. And on one hand, through the internet, a lot of things are being exposed. A lot of people are waking up. Now, in my opinion, may not even be right, but my opinion is, it's too little, too late. But there's a lot of pushback. There's a lot of resistance things going on in France, and protests going on in France and other nations that they specifically keep out of the news media here in the USA. So you don't realize how much these people don't like what's going on. Obama just came out last week and said, America needs to be much more like Australia, and that we need to give up our guns like Australia did. Well, Australians hate that. Australians regret that. Australians are controlled little bitches by their government, pimping them out, bossing them around, because they gave up their guns, and they regret it. But they don't tell you that side of the thing. They don't tell you how much the citizens of countries regret giving up their freedom. And the trick is to get you to consent to giving up your freedom. But the all of these things that we're talking about is to give you understanding into what's going on right now with things such as Target and how this fits into a bigger picture. So, in socialism and government and corporate collusion, okay, that's what happens in socialism. Governments are in bed with the big corporations, and Target's a pretty big corporation. Corporations are eligible to get huge fat chunks of government money. Now, what? Did we vote for this? No. Did we authorize the government to do this? No. But the government doesn't serve the people's interests and never has. It'll only pretend to, so that you don't riot too much while they get into positions of power, and then make up a bunch of rules that you now must follow that you never voted for. So they get into power through a bunch of lies, and then they fail to represent you, the thing you voted them in to do. Represent me. We have a republic, and it's supposed to be filled with people who represent us and serve us, but of course the opposite ends up happening, because everything in Babylon is a lie and is a scam and is inverted. So You've got the government giving big corporations. Remember, when the banks all behaved badly, were completely and utterly irresponsible in making home loans, and there was this huge situation where the banks all said, "Oh, Mr. Government, come save us. We're so sorry. We didn't know all these home loans we were going to make. We're just going to default." Of course you did. It was all a bogus scheme. The ratings on the loans were all bogus. And there's documentaries that have exposed that really well. And there was a really good movie on it, too. What's the name? I'm not thinking of the name of it at this second. Come on. What's the name? Well, I could stop and look it up, but man, it's almost on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, the banks were extremely irresponsible. They were negligent. They did a horrible job. They failed at the most basic financial responsibility. Like, it's so terrible. It's so flagrant. And yet, when the banks were so bad at what they were supposed to do, making loans to people that they knew were going to fail, and it was all a scam to you. When you get a mortgage, you make a quick buck off the mortgage, then you resell that mortgage to somebody else, so that when it goes bad, it's like a hot potato, you pass it out of your hand down the chain, and that way, sooner or later, at some point, somebody gets stuck with something that's no good. So you had mortgages, you had derivatives, and I can picture a few things from the documentary that explained it, and explained it very well. And it was a known scam. It's not like the people didn't know. There was this overconfidence. There was this huge bubble that was created. It didn't just magically happen on its own. No, it was engineered to happen because people are making a lot of short-term money, get-rich-quick stuff on letting fraud happen. And then, of course, eventually it blows up. Well, anyway, the banks are like, "Oh, no, we're all in trouble. Government, you must come save us, because if we go down, the American people will be hurt." So they behave in criminal ways. And it was after the Enron scandal and things like that. So, but guess what, right? Did the banks suffer? Were they penalized? No. I mean, you may have a few that got fined. Okay, so you got a $50 million fine, but then the government comes and gives you a bailout, a bank bailout of about 11 or 12 billion dollars. So you're minus $50 million in fines plus 11 or 12 billion dollars in government bailout. It's not the banks, we didn't vote for the government to do that with our money. So it's a scam. It's a huge scam, and again, it's the taxpayer, the person at the bottom, the middle class, who bears the brunt of it. We're being abused up one side and down the other. So what I'm saying is, there is an example. This is an example of where somebody is completely criminal, doesn't get punished for their crimes, even when there's documents. A few people, like a handful of people, go to prison. Okay. But then even that is a cushy corporate prison. It's so evil. It's so wicked. So, but then the bank benefits. They made irresponsible loan decisions that, a seventh grader who'd studied economics 101 could have made smarter financial decisions than these quote-unquote experts, because it's all bullshit. Then the bad financial decisions on loans that were never supposed to be loans, and then derivatives made off of these loans, and then derivatives made off the derivatives, and then those loans repackaged into other bundles. And so all these games, all these financial games, that's why the casino is a good analogy for it, because the casino's got this whole wide variety of games that you got all these distractions, all these choices, which game should we play? But they're all bad decisions. So you've got your, is it roulette? Yeah, roulette. You've got all these different squares that you can put your chips on and place your different kinds of bets on. And this is a double bet, and this is a black bet, and this is a red bet, and this is a specific number bet. and this is this, and this is that, and this is the other thing. All these different ways you can bet on where that little ball lands on that little spinning wheel. But it's all designed to take your money for you. But people like having these choices, and it makes it seem interesting and exciting, and it gives your mind something to do. Oh, should I bet this way? Should I bet that way? And it gives you something to focus on. Meanwhile, the larger picture is you're losing money. You're losing money. You're losing money. You're losing money. Your wealth is being stolen from you. But you're distracted and entertained while it's being stolen from you, and that's how the game runs. And casinos all around the world, here in America and all around the world, they make billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars on people's wishful thinking and people allowing themselves to be scammed on things that they shouldn't be scammed on. And it's dressed up with an air of respectability. We're all so sophisticated. Oh, yes. We're so sophisticated, and I'm doing something fun. I'm gambling, and I'm doing something sophisticated. And look at me. I've got status, and I'm wearing my fancy suit and my fancy dress. I'm getting stolen from, but it's okay because I'm getting stolen from in style. And so you've got all this nonsense, all this Babylonian nonsense, all the Vanity Fair of Babylon. If you want to really learn what Vanity Fair is, read about it in Pilgrim's Progress. It's an excellent description of the inversion of Vanity Fair and all the distractions it offers. Meanwhile, it's a God-hating system, so it's a system of theft. The gospel is about giving to you. In Revelation, Jesus is addressing one of the churches and he goes, you think you're okay, but you're delusional. You're naked, you're blind. You need, and what does God say? What does Jesus say to that church, right? These are people who've professed belief in himself. He doesn't say you're naked and blind, and you're delusional. He does say that. But what does he say then? Does he say, and because of this, you've really screwed up now, and I hate you, and you're idiots, and I disown you? No, he says, come to me and buy real gold, purified, refined gold from me. Buy salve for your eyes so you can fix your blindness and you can start to see reality. Buy true value, true wealth from me. True value, true wealth, true freedom is only in the kingdom of God. Everything else are forms of degradation, bondage, and deception that just drag you deeper, deeper, deeper into bankruptcy, spiritual bankruptcy, mental bankruptcy, emotional bankruptcy, financial bankruptcy, relationship bankruptcy, bankruptcy for your soul. You'll become empty, hollowed out, more and more dead on the inside. God doesn't want that from you. The gospel is good news. Jesus came to give you life. So it's in complete contrast to all the scams and all the predatory systems of Babylon. Now, with Target is, they knew that this reaction, they didn't do this stupidly, they didn't do this naively. Oh, you badly misjudged the American people. We won't stand for this. They knew. They exactly knew. They're not making a mistake. This is a planned, calculated move. It's there to get reaction, and Target will pull back from this. They'll incur all these financial losses, which they've already lost a bunch of money, and the naive Christian, unfortunately, is going to say, see, we stood up and look at what we're doing. Yes, but there's a million other ways that you're not standing up. So they give you, it's called a paper tiger argument, right? They give you a fake monster to go after, a paper tiger to slay. So they give you something, we're standing up and we're standing up for God. And we're not going to allow this Satanism and this amorality to just take hold in our society. And that's right. You shouldn't allow that. But there's thousands of other ways in which you are. You're participating in banks, so you're participating in evil. You're participating in healthcare and hospitals, so you're participating in evil. You're participating in fake churches, so you're participating in evil. You're participating in Babylon entertainment systems, which is just mind control programming, so you're participating in evil. You watch Netflix, which is just a much more mind control programming, so you're participating in evil. You participate in abortion, so you're just participating in more evil there. And and porn and OnlyFans, you participate, and on and on and on and on and on. But they give you something to focus on. Oh, look, this is outrageous. They need to be taken down. And you're right. It is. That's the thing that hooks you, because you're right. It is outrageous. It is evil. It is there. But it is there to create outrage. So you have something to focus your resentment and frustration on. So you boycott Target. Okay, good. Should you boycott Target? Yeah, I think you should boycott Target. But don't pretend that they're not the same as all the other systems. Almost every other corporation. Not every single one. No, I can't just paint them with an extremely broad brush, but I can paint it with a pretty wide, fairly broad brush. So they're giving you target to something to focus your hate, your resentment, your moral outrage. That's the way to say it. Your moral outrage on. And then you see, look at us. We're powerful. We're effective. Look, we've hurt them they've lost so much money. That'll teach them. Take that. So there. And so you've gone through the emotional manipulation they wanted you to go through. They wanted you to feel outraged by Satanism pushed on you, and you should feel outraged. And then you direct that by taking a pre-calculated reaction, a set of behaviors that they anticipated you were going to take. They're not taken by surprise, people. I just don't want you guys to be naive, okay? Please. Please don't be this naive. They knew you were going to do this. They planned for it. And then they'll probably withdraw it a few steps, and then they'll probably reintroduce it in some other ways. And then they'll probably fire that awful satanic desire. He's been fired. Target no longer works with him. Meanwhile, they'll hire somebody else, and they'll get their same agenda through, but not as extremely as that guy. It'll come back in the building through another window, door, the basement cellar, things like that. But you feel vindicated, and now you've experienced this emotional catharsis, just like the TV shows, right? They're all scripted. It's television, man. It's a script. It's all fake with good-looking people, so you like to watch it with, dramatic things and emotional drama and gunshots and explosions and all things that stimulate your nervous system to feel certain ways. And then at the end of the show, you have a catharsis, or they made you feel sad because they wanted you to feel sad, or you I don't know, man. So you've gone through that emotional roller coaster. Maybe roller coaster is too complicated of a term. The emotional ups and downs that they had for you to go through. And now you feel like, I've done something, I've really stood up, and now you do what? Pause for dramatic effect. You feel good about yourself. You can say, look, I was part of this. I stood against Target and their satanic clothing designs. I stood against them, and I was part of making them pay a price for doing something awful and wicked and abomination like that. So you have a feeling of self-righteousness. You see that your boycott of them was effective to make them lose a lot of money, and you what? You feel good about yourself as a result. Meanwhile, the larger picture is the society, the culture, is just getting more and more programmed, just going downhill, dying from the fake healthcare, and so on and so forth. But guess what? You will at least... And you're frustrated by all this stuff, right? And you should be. And you need a place to take out you need a punching bag to punch on. So they gave you Target to punch on at this particular stage in their scheme. So, okay, we gave you something so outrageous, we knew you would attack it and punch it. So you go and you punch on Target, you knock Target down, you feel good, yeah. And you got a lot of that frustration, or some of that, let's just say some, out of your system. So now you're in emotionally a little bit different place. You feel a little bit better about yourself. Look at me, I'm standing up for what's good. I'm standing up for what's right. Meanwhile, the whole thing was as fake as a television sitcom script. It was set up for you to go through all those steps and all those stages and all those reactions and all those feelings. So they 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 introduce some shock value clothing designs that are completely satanic, and they really are. You're not wrong. They are completely satanic. They're designed by a literal Satanist. Yes. So you're right, and you do have the facts on your side. But this, what's the net effect? It's multi-layered. It's not just one thing. But Target can then go whine like the banks made a bunch of horrible financial decisions, which they pretended like, oh, we didn't know. We thought these loans were good. See, they were accredited A+ rated loans. Yeah, because your whole rating system is a bogus scam too. So anyway, every piece in the system helps keep the system in place. So, in the same way, they let you vent some emotional frustration by I made Target pay. I made Target lose money. Damn it, you see I do have power. You damn it, you see I'm not going to tolerate your satanic crap. I'm going to make you pay. And you did. You did make Target pay, and you will make Target pay, and then they're going to just spread it to Kohl's, and then they're going to just spread it to whatever. But you're kind of emotionally spent. Some of your energy has been dissipated in this. And of course it is. How could it not be? And then they're going to have that same little weed. You know, it's like pulling, I pulled the weeds out of my front yard. Meanwhile, in my backyard, I pulled 50 weeds out of the front yard. I worked hard, and look, I did a good job. And then I pulled 50 weeds in the front yard, and then 200 weeds sprang out in the meantime that week while I was pulling all the weeds in the front yard. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just trying not to have you be manipulated by their games on you. I want you to see it a layer deeper than the surface layer. God calls us to have wisdom. God calls us not to be ignorant of the schemes of wicked people who despitefully use us, emotionally abuse us, who manipulate us in every way because they're trying to what? Take from you. They're trying to take from you. So, but they do come to take your money, just like a casino comes to take your money. But even that's all fake, so it's really not about even taking your money. It's really not even... It's about destroying the U.S. economy. It's about destroying the West. It's about killing off the West and replacing them with very compliant, stupid people. Because we're slightly too smart, but mostly not, because of all the dumbing down that's been going on in this country for decades. But we're slightly inconvenient. And if you look... You know, you used to, sorry for my sniffle there, you used to have to do more internet searching to find out about the nasty things that the wicked people are doing behind closed doors. And all the stuff that YouTube doesn't want you to talk about. Well, it's being talked about in galore on Rumble, on BitChute, on other things like that. So in other words, there's more disclosure information happening now than there ever has been. And thank you, God. And God, this is by your grace and by your mercy to us. The things that they tried to make you look crazy for talking about or thinking about or even considering as possible in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, now, after 9/11 and all the stuff people want to talk about, they'll start to talk about Bohemian Grove. They'll start to talk about 911. We now have a term called false flag. We're now seeing how narcissists operate and things like that. So we're smarter on one hand, and we're better informed on one hand, but still we get taken in by many other manipulation tactics that they still successfully play on us, we the people. And we need the wisdom of God, the understanding of God, and the discernment of God, or else we're going to get played. Because we're not as crafty, scheming, and conniving as these serpents are. Serpents are naturally crafty, scheming, conniving. They naturally misrepresent themselves, but misrepresent themselves strategically to fool you, not just in random ways, but to fool you in strategic ways. So while you're feeling good and vindicated and self-righteous about how you stood up and you took Target down many notches, Target can come back and whine, "Oh look, we're a big retailer. We need a bank. We need a government bailout." Now watch. Target is obeying. They're not idiots. They're doing this because they were told to do this. Everyone in the Babylon system is a slave. It's a hierarchical system. All hierarchical systems are like this. Whether it's a hierarchical system in the Catholic Church, where I learned some about Japanese culture back even in the feudal times, and it's a hierarchical system. You have the people that are above you, and they have more status than you, and you have to bow to them, and you have to bow lower than they bow, and if their tone of voice is X amount of tone, your voice has to be a notch or two below that. And there's all kinds of other hierarchical. I call it bullshit because it's so annoying. It's so artificial and contrived. I find it just very highly annoying because God made us for freedom, not for the bondage of hierarchies. So, and even in, let's say, in a more overt, a more simplistic example is going to be in a lot of military academies. If somebody's been in the military academy longer than you, if they're a year ahead of you, then you have to defer to them. And even if they've been in there longer than you have, and they're this rank and you're that rank, or they have this seniority, or all of these, they've all got these different rules. And it's not important to get bogged down in the individual example rules. There's no reciprocity, partnership. You don't function as allies. You're all always pitted against each other. In the Illuminati systems, it's always that way. You're always pitted against each other. You're always in competition with each other. You always have to measure yourself. Where do you rank in the satanic hierarchy? Do I have to bow and scrape at you? You look at the Pope kissing the hand of the Rothschilds, right? That shows, okay, I don't care how many $1 trillion the Catholic Church has. You don't rank as high in the satanic hierarchy as this guy does. So in the Japanese one, for example, you can't sit higher than they sit, and you can't anyway. There's 1,001 rules about how you have to behave, and who can talk to who, and how your tone of voice is, and how you bow, and how you move, and how you talk. And it's all referencing that, yes, I acknowledge that you're higher than me. And so you live in fear of those that are higher than you because they can punish you. And then because you're full of resentment at all this bullshit you're in, you take out your resentment on all those that are lower than you. You get to boss, and wherever you are in the hierarchy, you get to boss them around. You get to threaten them. You get to command them. You get to be harsh and demanding of them. But at the same time, you live in fear of all those who are up higher than you. So it keeps you like a bunch of crabs in a bucket trying to climb out of that bucket, and you end up just climbing all over each other. And it's a system of torment and a system of bondage because it's inspired by Satan. Go figure. So at the level of where corporations and even nations and countries are just playthings, just like poker chips are playthings. They can make a country prosperous to a large degree, or they can make it bankrupt. You change the trade laws. You change the what's it called? The money valuation, the exchange rates. You change this exchange rates from this kind of currency to that kind of currency, and you can control a lot of things. So right now, here's one bullshit game that's going on. The Germans are so principled. We're principled people. We're going to stand on our principles, and the narrative they're telling us to buy, which we're suckers at buying, we as Germans, is that the Russians are bad, nasty people, and we must show that we have a contract where we must buy X amount of oil from the Russians, but because we're principled, we're not going to buy that oil. No, sir, because the Russians are bad, nasty, and they're just bad and wrong. We're not going to take your damn oil. And so the Russians get paid by Germany for that oil because there's a contract already in place where they have to get paid for it. So, yeah, whether you're taking the oil or not, you idiots are paying for that oil. It's not like you're not paying Russia. You're giving your money to Russia for the oil, which you very much need, and you can't not need it. So, but because you're so principled, I'm standing on my principles. Like, by intending to do the right thing, you do the wrong thing. This is called being manipulated. So by standing on your principles, we're not going to get any of that. We're not going to take your damn oil, Russia. Your nasty oil, because you're bad, awful people. So Russia sells the oil to India instead. So they've already gotten paid for the oil because so Germans have paid for that oil. Russia then sells that oil, which Germany refuses to take, to India. And then India sells that oil to Germany. So India makes a bunch of money on this scam. The Russians end up paying twice for their oil. They bought the oil in the first place because they're so principled. They refused to take that oil. But, okay, we won't buy oil from Russia because they're bad, nasty people, but we will buy oil from India because that's okay because at least they're not Russia. You're getting freaking scammed. Now you just paid twice for your oil. You paid Russia for the oil, and then you paid India to get that same oil because you won't take delivery from Russia, but you'll take delivery of the same barrel of oil from India. So again, there's all of these manipulation scams, yet the German people feel, manipulating your feelings, they feel like they're doing the right thing. We're standing on our principles, right? This is how you get scammed. This is how you get tricked. And are you doing it for the wrong reasons? You're doing it for what you believe to be right reasons, giving the information you've got to go on, which is a bunch of lies to begin with. Russia is evil, but so is Germany, so is Ukraine, so is NATO, and all of the rest. So they get you making your decisions based on a controlled set of information. That's called mind control. Then they get you doing stupid things like paying for your oil twice. And so you're suffering much more economically than you needed to, because if that same barrel of oil is routed from Russia through India, then you'll buy it. Okay. Idiots. I was a graphic designer, 20 plus years ago. And I was working for a company that was here in America, here in Dallas. And they did air conditioning systems. And it was like for apartment complexes, or in hotels. So rooms where every room has its own air conditioner for that room, okay? Not big centralized things where the air conditioning system powers the whole building, or cools the whole building, I should say. So they're making air conditioning systems for Kuwait. And so, but the Kuwaitis know that American products are superior, so they want to buy American products because they are better engineered, they last longer, they stand behind their products more and more and more. So what this company was doing was buying products from overseas, but they're an American company because they're technically and literally they are legitimately here located in America, but it's all a scam in the sense of they're buying it foreign and then they're slapping their label on it and then they're reselling it as an American product. And then they can charge much, 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 much more because now they can say, look, we're an American company. It's got our sticker and our label and our decal, our nameplate on the product, so you're buying an American air conditioner. Well, it's an American air conditioner only in name only because it's got the decal on something that was made in God knows where, China or something else, because they didn't want to buy it. You know what I'm saying? So you think you're buying American, but really it's Chinese in disguise. It's just routed through America. It's another example of the scam. So let's get back to our example of Target and Kohl's, which is the main thing I wanted to address. But I want you to have understanding and depth to you and not be played. So Target's going to be able to... Target is what they call failing forward. Yeah, they're failing, but they actually spin it and work it out to their advantage, just like these banks did with the the mortgage crisis, where they all needed a bailout from Mr. Government. And so, did they lose money on that deal? No, they made insane amounts of money. They made literally billions of dollars. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and so forth. They made billions of dollars by what? By making horrible financial decisions that a 12-year-old should have been able to tell them, this is a stupid person to loan money to. They will not be able to repay you. But yet magically they can say, oh, we didn't know. We thought it was legitimate. We don't know how this crisis happened. Oh, we're so sorry. Oh, bail us out, Mr. Government, with money that's not even yours to give away. They failed forward. They did the wrong thing, and they got rewarded by the Babylonian system for it. So likewise, Target is doing the wrong thing. They're having Satanist design lines of clothes. And they're not alone, and they're not unique. This is just the one that's all the attention is on right at the moment. I'm standing in May 31st, 2023. Target is going to fail forward. On one hand, they lost all this money. On one hand, their stock price is way down. But on the other hand, because they're doing their master Satan's bidding, by degrading the culture, by giving shock value, by performing this mind control operation on the people, again, you put your hand too far up the lady's skirt and she slaps your face hard. Well, then you bring it down, but you don't entirely take it off your leg. You still got your hand on her knee, and then your hand starts creeping up her skirt again. That's what a molester person would do. That's what a creep would do. That's what I'm not thinking of the right word that I want to say. Pervert's not the word. What word am I trying to say? Anyway, that's how somebody like that is gonna operate. You put up a strong resistance, so they back down some, but they didn't back down 100%. And now they still keep trying to do their same agenda. This is what's happening with the Target situation. So, and then when it comes out again, here's another line of clothing by another designer, and it's satanic, but it's very mildly satanic. And now you don't have the same outrage reaction because you already played your outrage card. You already played that card. And you're emotionally spent, you're psychologically spent, and you've already taught Target a lesson. You've already given it your financial smackdown as you think, as you're seeing it from your perspective, the very perspective I'm trying to disabuse you from. Then they don't see it coming right back in. It's not going to come back in through the front door. Now it's going to come in through a side door, a window, through the basement, through the attic. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how it comes in as long as it gets in. So Target's going to fail forward in that they're going to get a bunch of money from the government, even as they're financially hurt. And again, you may be able to see this. You may be able to trace the money. You may not be able to trace the money. It's coming in through other hidden means. It's not coming in directly. But they're going to get rewarded because they're obedient to their master Satan. So they're going to get rewarded with the poker chips that Satan uses in his kingdom, which is money. Target's going to fail forward on this whole situation, and that while they're losing money on one hand, they're going to gain a lot of money, even more money. Just like the banks lost a bunch of money on making stupid loans to people, but then in the government bailout, they made far more money than they lost through the bank bailout scam. So Target's going to get a bunch more money into its. It may not show up in its stock price. You probably won't see these headlines. Can't say for sure, but you probably won't see headlines that follow the money and link to how Target makes money on this. So they're going to do the wrong thing. They're going to introduce satanic lines of clothes. There's going to be this outrage. They're going to lose them a lot of money, but the Illuminati's like, don't worry about it. We got you covered, man. We're going to take care of you. You do what we tell you to do. And they're going to make sure that Target, the fat cats at the very top of Target, are more than well off, that they get more than reimbursed for obeying the dictates of their master, Satan. Now, the second thing is, so Target's not really losing in terms of if you just look at cold hard finances. They're going to appear to lose, just as a boxer in a fixed fight is going to appear to go down in the third round. But really, they got paid ridiculous amounts of money to go down in the third round. So really, they win. They win through losing. That's what the banks did. That's what the banks keep on doing. That's also what Target's going to do. This is what they do. The Illuminati will allow their assets to get burned down because it's less than chump change. Billions of dollars, that's right, I said it, are less than chump change to them. They don't think in mere billions of dollars, just as you no longer bother to pick up a penny that you drop on the sidewalk. Now, to us, that's very foreign. Of course, I would, even a $5 bill, I'm going to pick that up. But no, to them, $1 billion is too small to mess with. Too small because I had to bribe them. I had to pay this out. I had to have 60 million people killed. I had to have a Holocaust. I had to have this and that. It's just a means to an end. I don't care what I had to do. It's just all a means to an end. If I could accomplish the end, any amount of money, trillions of dollars would be worth it because it's not real. The money is not real. It's like the casino. It's like as if the casino is paying their employees with poker chips, and while the employees, in this analogy, I'm not saying they really, really, really do this. I'm saying that it's like you're in a casino where the people that work in the casino have to live on site, and they just go next door and live in their special casino apartment complex, and they can trade their casino chips for a meal and all of this stuff. And so they're all operating off of this fake cash flow system. There is a cult, a literal cult, and this was a cult in Korea to be specifically, and it was just a few years ago that was doing this. It created these fake companies, and then it had all these people living on site and getting quote unquote paid, but not getting paid by the company. Oh, you know what? You're getting paid, but guess what? Why don't you come live here on site so that make it easier? And why don't you get your meals here? And what? You know what? You don't even need to leave. You can't leave unless we say. And they gain more and more control over these people, and the people think that they're getting a good deal because they don't have to pay rent and they don't have to pay for their food. And what this company was doing, it was doing a bunch of evil things, but there's layers to it. But it was buying little cheap merchandise and then just putting the finishing touches on it. Again, the same thing that the company I was doing graphic design for would buy air conditioners from China and then put their label on them, their finishing touches on them, and then resell them as American air conditioners. So likewise, this company was buying like little cheap tourist gadgets. Here's what people buy when they come to visit Korea and South Korea, and just painting it or just boxing it up or something, and then selling it as if this company had manufactured it. So there was this whole scheme, and there's this whole control system in place. It's a cult, a literal cult. And I'm not here to get too off into that, but it was a control system that blinded the minds of so many people participating in this system. So Target's going to fail forward. They're actually going to make money. Whether that shows up on the books or not, I don't know. Whether that's going to show up in their stock price, I don't know. But they're going to get substantially rewarded from obeying Satan by putting out this shock value clothing. So, and then Target also is going to financially win because they're going to go whine to the government. This is already scripted to all play out, okay? This is not... They're not taking chances. That's what I'm trying to say. They didn't make a mistake. They didn't do something financially stupid. This is calculated to get paid back. Just like, you're going to get paid, boxer, you're going to get paid $20,000 if you won this fight. But guess what? If you go down in the third round and intentionally let yourself lose the fight, I will pay you $50. So you appear to lose by everybody watching you, and yet you came out much more financially ahead by losing than you did by winning. It's like that. It's a scam. So they're going to get money from the government. That's one way in which Target's going to win. The second way is that they're going to get to blame. See, our financial losses are because of all these Christian haters. We're so inclusive, and we want to make a store that doesn't reject anyone. And yet these Christian haters, these extremists, these right-wing nut jobs are hurting the American economy. They're going to go whine, and they're going to put out this narrative. It's already scripted to go out this way, okay? It's going to unfold, man, because it's already scripted. And then that accomplishes one of Satan's agendas. It creates psychological resentment in the minds of the Americans who aren't Christians, who go, look at, these Christians are hurting our economy. Okay, so maybe Target shouldn't have done what they did. I don't know, but look, this shouldn't have happened, and now our economy, now, Target just had to lay off 10,000 people. Oh, we're all, you mean Christians, you've hurt us, you've cost us our jobs, you're contributing to unemployment. They're going to roll out all of these bitchy, whiny things that are all designed to what? They're all designed to make Christians look bad. So wait a second. So Satanists come along, design a bunch of blasphemous stuff. A particular Satanist, I shouldn't say Satanist in general, a particular Satanist. And then Christians react to it. And then they're going to try to flip the narrative, flip the script, invert compassion. And then they need to have compassion for all. Look at the poor 10,000 people of Target that had to be laid off because of the mean, hateful, resentful actions of the Christians. They're going to try to make evil look good and good to look evil. And what happens as a result of that? Satan wins. So you're going to have Christians that think they're standing up for morality. They're going to be part of the quote-unquote, what used to be called the moral majority, right? Jimmy Swaggart and other people like that. They're going to behave, and they're going to do the right thing. In other words, you should take a stand against this satanic fashion. Not really fashion, just social engineering. But they knew that this was going to happen. They set this all up to happen in the first place before any of it ever happened, before that designer was ever even hired. They scripted it all out. We know we're going to generate this outrage. We know there's going to be this swell. We know our stock price is going to fall. Just like Israeli companies, that were in the Twin Tower buildings. Oh, guess what? They just magically decided not to go into work that day. And insider trading, and there was insurance policies, and there's all kind of scams. This is how the Babylonian system. Again, we can talk about the Illuminati kingpins at the top. Yes, they're just lackeys working for Satan. But yes, it's all designed so it looked like this was a terrible loss to the Twin Towers, and yet the owner of the Twin Towers made out like a fat cat on the insurance policy. It's all scams like this. You need to recognize how they operate so you can see their plans, see their agendas, how they make it look like, oh, we're so sorry. We Mr. Stockholder, we didn't want to hurt you. Bullshit. It's all scripted. So Target is going to actually win financially. Maybe not Target as the stock price shows it, and then they're going to win with getting payments under the table or payments indirectly as well, and then they're going to win by doing social engineering and making it look like, look at these hateful Christians who are hurting our economy. The thing is, the economy is already set to, and the implosion is already happening. The chain of dominoes is already falling to make about almost, as I heard today from an economic analyst, about $300 billion of retail go down in America. It's part of the implosion of America. It's part of the implosion of the economy. And we need to expect this. We need to expect this tactic. This is how it's planned to work. So when you do the right thing, quote unquote right thing, you stood up against the satanic clothing, it was all done and allowed to happen so that they could use it against you. Am I saying don't stand up against this? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying understand that they're going to try to flip the script and use it against you, right? What did they do to the literal Lord Jesus Christ? These same people, these same fake leaders, these same fake religious leaders, the same Roman systems. They took a man, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, who did nothing but love people, help them, heal them, save them, deliver them. And this was just in the tangible ways, not to mention the real way, the spiritual way that he did it. And they made him look like a bad guy. It's like, listen, Caesar, this guy said he's the king of the Jews. If you don't have him killed, then you're no friend of Rome. And we're going to get the Roman system to bump you off because you're allowing somebody who says he's a king and therefore theoretically a threat to you, a threat to the Roman system to go unpunished. How dare you? So they're going to take the good people and punish them. This is what Babylon always does. I've taken some time to spell all this out. I want you to understand these concepts. So Illuminati will burn down their own assets. They'll burn down their own banks. They'll burn down their own countries because there's no loyalty within them to any of that. It's all funny money to them. It's all, whether it's dollars or rubles or yuan or any of these things. These are all the playthings of Satan. And so, friends, as a Christian, you can't really be invested in these things. Yeah, there's some ways in which we're literally invested. Like we may have literal stocks we own. We will have money in the bank, but we have to hold on to these things so extremely loosely, very, very, very loosely. They're not real. We have to do this. We're engaging in this system because we need to buy gas, we need to buy food, and all this kind of stuff in the day-to-day. But we know that this system is on the verge of collapse, that they're collapsing it on purpose, that it'll all be set up to pressure people into compliance with the Antichrist beast system. We know that it's all leading to pressuring people to take the mark of the beast. And guess what? They're going to take the mark of the beast with all the moral self-righteousness in which they took the jab. It's the same thing. And the people who don't take the jab, they're the problem. They're the reason for all of your problems. It's all set up to demonize the Christians. Satan cannot have his new world order if people have access to the truth, if people know right from wrong, if people aren't confused and inverted in their thinking, if people don't fall for his games and his manipulations. Friends, Pray to Jesus for wisdom and understanding every single day. I'm serious. Pray to Jesus. Jesus, please give me wisdom and understanding this day. Please expand my perspectives. Help me to see as you see, to feel as you feel, to understand as you understand. Give me your eyes. Give me your heart. I want to be more like you. Align me with you. Please, Jesus, make it clear to me what I need to be doing in this crazy world that hates you. What I need to do, the decisions I need to make, the moves I need to make. What do I do with money? What do I do with food? What do I do with investments? What do I do with where I live? What do I do with the many, many, many practical needs that you know I have, Jesus? I really need to be guided and directed by you, Lord Jesus Christ. I don't want to make the wrong decisions. I don't want to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. There's a lot of scammers out there, Jesus, and so I'm clinging to you. I'm not leaning on my own understanding. I need you to guide me and direct your steps like it talks about in your word. This is how we need to be praying and living at this time. Thank you, friends, for listening to this. May God give you wisdom and perspective and a deeper love for himself. I can't give you that, but God can give you that. And may the Lord Jesus Christ bless each and every one of you.